I learned more from learning limb independence than I did learning any of those grooves because it opens up more musical possibilities than learning specific beats. Like if I were to just like teach you this, you would be able to like walk away successful and be like, yeah, I figured out that groove. But then what if like the bass player is playing something slightly different? What if the guitarist is playing something slightly different? And you sat there and you worked on that one groove and you're like, cool, I can play that one thing, but maybe this one sounds better. And that might be like easy for you to transition from the other one into that new one. But the problem is it doesn't teach you to think musically and to think about the musical application of like how to line up with what else the other musicians are playing. If I go to my home tab of YouTube and I scroll down to the limb independence section, every single one of these playlists has a video that links to how to develop limb independence on the kit. This shows you step by step how to be able to develop limb independence. The very first step is just like learning the basics of the ostinato you're gonna do. So if you're gonna play like a biome pattern, and this is the pattern that you're gonna repeat, the ostinato is the thing that doesn't change. The thing that's gonna change is me playing with my hand and making it so that when I play, I can play whatever I want with my left hand and nothing else is going to change for the three things going on. So the first step of learning limb independence is getting to the point where you can talk like I am right now, or being able to make it so that you can move your other limb, the independent limb, to be able to do different things. So like to be able to like sign your name in print or cursive, or to be able to like draw shapes, etc. That's the first step to be able to do. The next step to be able to do, permutating a single note. 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're just going 1, 2, 3, 4. This is just one of the many different type of permutations in here. This teaches you a near infinite number of different beats that you can play, different grooves that you can play. Be able to play them whenever you want to, for me, is more educationally valuable than me like sitting here and teaching you how to play one of these grooves. It's listening to the music that you are trying to accompany and perform with and going, what would be best in that moment right now? Should I add in more of the low sounds, the middle sounds, the high sounds? And how would each one of those work with whatever it is that you're trying to play along to, as opposed to, oh, I really like this beat, I'm going to find a way to crowbar it into whatever it is that I'm playing. There's a reason why I have a whole limb independence section in here and not like a whole beat section in here. It's because I've created hundreds of resources to help with developing this thing that is harder to learn in the beginning, but will pay off more in the long run than learning specific beats. Before I get to the next tip, I just want to say really quickly that you can find literally thousands of hours of free drumming play-alongs and drumming tips in the link at the top of the description or by going into my home tab of YouTube. I actually don't use fingers on my double strokes. So there's two different techniques that I use for double strokes. So all of this is wrist. I'm getting out of the way of the stick when doing this and letting the rebound work for me, as opposed to stopping the stick down here. This is bad. A lot of students, when they first start playing, they're going to double stroke like this, and they're doing 2 downstrokes in a row on each hand. This is going to make it so that you're not only hitting the downstroke, but also having to manually pull that up. So don't do that. Stop it. Get some help. So what you want to do instead is have it so that you start up and you end up when doing your double strokes, when starting with this. Now, the reason why I like to use wrist while doing this is 1, it gives you more power. 2, it doesn't rely on rebound as much as like a finger technique does, because I can physically play it here. It just makes it so that I have more control across all the different instruments that I play, whether it's on drum kit or on mallets or on a marching snare drum or whatever. The second technique is a controlled rebound. So where you're doing 1 motion, 2 notes. So I'm doing 1 stroke and I'm letting it stop with 2. This controlled rebound is how you play faster doubles. These are single motions and it has a little bit of a pump to it if you're going super fast. There are many ways to play, but the way that you're describing with playing with the wrist and then playing with the finger to do that. It's very confusing, mechanically speaking, to switch back and forth between the two, and it gives you a different sound. So the way that I play when I play with a wrist approach is going to have a different sound quality than if I play a finger approach. Because of the way that I have spent most of my time practicing is drumline, and again, trying to fit in with everybody else who's playing the exact same way. You want uniformity with technique and uniformity with sound quality, and so you want to change as little as possible. On drumkit, you can get away with those changes, but mechanically speaking, it's a little weird to think like, okay, I'm going to use wrist here, wrist, fingers, wrist, fingers, wrist, fingers, as opposed to just, no, I'm playing with just my wrist, or I'm playing with just my fingers, whatever your technique. What I'm sharing with you is like what I do for my rolls. So I can play very fast rolls because I've trained myself to be able to do that for the consistency. Give us my best groove, please. I've been practicing that one for years. What'd you think? Moeller strokes, for people who aren't familiar, instead of using like a wrist motion where you're like moving up and down like this and isolating it, or like a finger motion where you're like not moving other parts, Moeller is more of like this like whipping motion. This is a very exaggerated Moeller when doing it. So to work on that kind of like relaxed, like almost whip-like motion when playing it, one of the best ways to work on that is with upstrokes. So where you're playing low to a high note. So like if I were to do triplets as right, left, 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 right, 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 left, 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 right, right. Those are really good ways to work on your Moeller strokes. So under the accent tap playlist, take a look at the ones that are not downstroke, but scroll down a little bit, that are upstroke. There's a ton of different variations of upstrokes to work on, but you can also do it with the fulcrum control exercises. These are really good for a variety of things, but you can play it all as double stops and that'll work on your upstrokes. But if you do the accent relaxers or the tap relaxers and play those with the Moeller strokes, that can be really helpful. So for example, tap relaxers for threes, so starting at 3 inches for everything. And then you do a 4-inch accent. So just an emphasis basically. So triple it, triple it, triple it, triple it. And then 6-inch accent, 3-inch taps, and then 9, and then 12. So it's slowly raising the accents while keeping the taps low. And then it goes back down, so it's slowly lowering the accents and keeping the taps low. So an exercise like this, if you were to play it as like right, left, 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 right, 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 left, so like as upstrokes, and you slowly raise up those accents and slowly lower them, that could be a good way to work on your Moeller strokes. But long story short is check out the accent tap playlist. If you scroll down into the tips and lessons section, how to play relaxed accents. So drumming tip number 88. This at the start of it talks about some approaches for working on relaxed accents. Oh yeah, so that variation, the 2 up, 2 down, that does all 4 of the main stroke types. So we have an upstroke that starts up and ends up, so up, up. A stroke that starts up and ends down, so up, down. A stroke that starts down and ends down, also known as a tap, so down, down. And a stroke that starts down and ends up, so down, up. So if you do up, up, down, down, up, down, down with your accent taps, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. It does all 4 stroke types in one simple exercise. So that's another good one that you could work on to work on upstrokes, downstrokes, taps, accents, all in 4 notes.